All right, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's October 8th, 2024. I'm Trey. That's Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Good man. Got a good show today. I think we're going to be talking about we're gonna have some fun with some conspiracy theories mostly today because last week was talking about the existential angst of our
Hmm.
coming climate apocalypse. So let's talk about how the morons are going to deal with it because that's more fun. But before we get to the show, on top of the stuff we're not going to talk about today that's in the news, one, apparently Trump White House ran interference for the FBI investigation into Brett Kavanaugh's sexual assault allegations back when he was during his confirmation hearings in 2018, which I think I ever thought everyone knew that at the time, but I guess we got concrete sourcing on that today.
What does
Um,
that even mean, ran interference on? I mean, didn't the stuff come out anyway? Or like, was there more stuff that didn't come out at the time? I mean, I remember feeling like it looked pretty bad and then it didn't matter and he was
the
fine. Like,
FBI after the accusations happened, this FBI set up a tip line on which they got like 4,200 tips, and the White House made sure they didn't do anything about it. Which I mean, 4,200. Obviously, the man held the job. I don't think he did 4,200 sex crimes,
yeah, I mean that'd
but
be like he'd be like the Wilt Chamberlain of
right. Mm,
sexual assault, sexual assaulting judges. Yeah, that would be some really
yeah,
impressive. Well, not impressive, is not the right word.
yeah.
Those would be some wild stats if it was 4,200. Yeah, but
Right. How did he finish law? So obviously, there's a lot of cranks and weirdo. But anytime you set up a tip line, you're going to get a bunch of tips from
yeah,
just like random lunatics who are watching the news.
dude, any kind of
But
government thing, it don't even have to be on the news because I used to work for the government and I let out government contracts and government grants and stuff. And anytime we posted a grant opportunity online for like a renewable energy project or something, because I work for the Department of Energy,
mhm.
dude, if my number was on it, it was going to be a real shitty month because people just call me all day being like, I got this great idea. You know, I got all these llamas. They poop, right? We take the poop, we turn it in to energy through the means of like just
Yeah.
crank bullshit. So any kind
Uh
of
huh.
government line like that is going to get some of that. But
Yeah.
still, they probably should have at least looked into it a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, the White House made sure they didn't. There's also like Bob Woodward's books coming out. So I want to read when you're a big time Washington reporter who's already really wealthy, when you get interesting stuff, what you got to do is sit on it till your book comes out 4 years later. So I
How
guess
old is Bob Woodward?
486.
I was about to say, God damn. All
Yeah.
right.
So he's old enough that it was already ridiculous that what was it? Robert Redford played him in the movie or whatever.
Right. 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I forget which one played him in who had played in All the President's Men, but yeah. So, but he sent apparently COVID tests to Putin, and I don't mean he sent like because Russia didn't have a good supply of COVID tests. He didn't send like a big supply for the Russian people. He sent some to Vladimir Putin personally because he's a huge germaphobe. All right, so that's nice.
Trump
Uh,
did?
yeah,
Okay. All right. He could. All right. Well, that's wild. Putin couldn't get him
yeah.
from nowhere else. Like he was.
Nope.
Okay. All right.
The Russian medical testing field apparently is behind the times. Who knew? Trump apparently, according to Woodward, has talked to Putin on the phone at least 7 times since he left the White House. I don't know about what, but he's got a bunch of classified documents sitting around his bathroom. But also, like, it's just like it's illegal for American private citizens to run their own foreign policy, which we let Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos do it because that's free enterprise, baby. I have no idea why a guy said to Mar-a-Lago, whatever. There's no rules
It's
anymore.
funny that Trump's being left on red by Putin or whatever. Like he can't get all leaving a string of embarrassing late night voicemails and shit for Vladimir Putin. Just can't hear
Hmm.
back from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. They are besties, I guess. Well, I mean,
Hmm.
no, Trump loves him. I think
Yeah.
Putin knows that Trump's his
Right.
bitch, so it's not
Or it's
exactly the
like
same thing. But
the former KGB agent working a source, man.
yeah,
It's like that's a user relationship. So I want to talk about this story because there's a famous internet meme that like after 2016, Darren's going to look in the mirror and take a hard look and say we got to get more racist. All right. So the but what if instead they just got fucking dumber, all right? And you're gonna love this story as a fan of stuff like aliens and cryptids. All
hmm
right, so I'm sure people have noticed recently that Kamala Harris has been running around talking about how not how just how she owns a gun, but if you come in her house after dark, she will fucking shoot your ass, all right?
yeah,
Which is just saying repeatedly, openly. Did an interview with 60 Minutes, owns a Glock. She made it clarify it's a Glock. All right. So if there is any organized strategy here, it's to like not come across like a liberal ninny, right? Which is
Of
like
course.
she isn't the scolding, uptight kind of liberal. She's a new, cooler liberal who shoot you, right? Okay,
Right.
so I read this piece and I thought it was a joke, but I think it might. I couldn't tell if the person's kidding, but it actually might be a good idea here. Basically, arguing that she should find a conspiracy theory to claim she believes in, and because all the cranks have united under one banner. Like Trump's got
Right.
QAnon, he's got the anti-vaxxers, he's got the UFO people, right? He's got the crypto, the gold bugs who think the economy's going to collapse. You should build a bunker, right? So what they're saying is because she should find like a pretty harmless conspiracy theory like Bigfoot or whatever, and claim she believes in it. And the reason is. So, according to research by Fairleigh Dickinson University suggests that cryptids could be fertile territory for recruiting swing voters, this article states. Democrats and Republicans are equally likely to believe that creatures known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch exist in the woods of the Pacific Northwest. 20% of Democrats say that it's, quote, somewhat or very likely to be true, compared with 19% of Republicans and 22% of Americans overall. Younger Americans are much more likely than older ones to believe it's true. But Bigfoot is old and busted, right? Mm-hmm. The new hotness is Mothman. Are you familiar with Mothman, Trey?
I mean, I know that Mothman's been around for a while because there's like two movies. There's original movie and then a remake of the movie that wasn't well received, the Mothman prophecies and stuff. So I know that Mothman's been around, but I thought it was sort of a lesser known regional bench warmer type of cryptid is what I thought. I didn't know that he was getting called up to the majors, Mothman. Yes. So no, please educate me.
Apparently, Mothman lore is huge on TikTok, okay? So Mothman, if you guys aren't familiar, because I wasn't, is a 7-foot creature with glowing red eyes that makes, quote, a screeching sound as it follows cars through the dark mountain night. It's mostly seen in, like, West Virginia and, like, that part of the country, all right? Which is important electorally because it's right next to Pennsylvania. It's our new strategy to win Pennsylvania is to claim to believe in a 7-foot-tall Mothman who flies and chases cars. All right, so it's also like polling data that shows that as an up-and-coming cryptid, the Mothman has a particularly strong appeal to younger and more progressive people. So there's even a recent novel about a young trans boy writing letters to the Mothman.
Hey, Venn diagram crossover appeal. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
So, producer Matt, if you're listening from your new perch in Delaware at the campaign headquarters, have Kamala Harris go on Ancient Aliens. That is your winning strategy here. That's
okay. Look, I don't want to derail this episode. I have so many thoughts about this. So some of this I'm taking personally. It's like that. So, first of all, I didn't realize. So, I'm into alien shit. We've talked about it here on the show before. But that like, am I an outlier in the fact that I'm like, yeah, Bigfoot, ghost, that's all a bunch of bullshit. But aliens, though, that's what's up. Like, is that because to me, alien is the most reasonable gateway cryptid, if you even want to call it a cryptid, into this world, because I feel like it just makes mathematical sense, goddammit, when you understand the size and breadth of the fucking universe. Like, it's not that wild. I don't like aliens getting lumped in with this shit. You know what I mean? But
we're not rehash this whole argument we've done 47 times on this show. But to be fucking clear, that math cuts both ways. Yes, it's mathematically likely that there exists life in the universe. It also makes that same math makes it extremely unlikely that they've come across us or have light speed travel.
Yeah, okay, that's called the Fermi paradox, and there are a lot of proposed fucking answers for it, okay? Don't come at me with that shit. I know about the Fermi. You think I don't know about the Fermi paradox? I do, motherfucker. Anyway, all right. Anyway, me personally, I feel like I like the case you made for Mothman, but I feel like aliens is the play. If you're going to pick one to get into, it just feels like it has broader appeal to me is
right, but unless you're as dumb as, because remember Trump was already president, they ignore that part, right? But like it's hard to claim you're gonna get to the bottom of aliens when you're sitting vice president and you haven't done it for 4 years. Like you should know they're aliens. Trump should know if they're aliens too, but they just pretend he wasn't.
Okay, that is a good point. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that part of it. So all right, yeah, Mothman. All right, that's fine. Go for it. Mothman, I can get on board. All right. Anyway, listen, we got producer Laura with us tonight. This is Weekly Skews. I want to remind y'all before we continue that I'm on the road as always. If you would like to see me do stand-up comedy live and in person, go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. I got a Southwest run coming up next week. That is Durango, Colorado, Santa Fe, and Flagstaff. That'll be fun. Then I got Appleton, Wisconsin. Then I'm back in the Northeast. I'm all over the place. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check it out. Come and see me. Also, if you like this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon, weeklyskews.com/more, or you can just go to Patreon and search for my name. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes, which we're doing the second half of a Q&A later this week, where we take the burning questions from you, the skewers, and answer them. But we also cover things that happen in between shows or just other stuff we want to talk about. If you like this show, you'll like that show because it's just this show, but we just do it again. So get some bonus skews in your life, support the show in the process, sign up on Patreon. Now, as for the show tonight, it's been barely a week, and there's already another perhaps cataclysmic hurricane bearing down on this country. Now, you might think that this is a time to put away partisan differences and come together in honor of helping our fellow Americans in this time of need, right? Actually, no, you'd be very wrong. Turns out Trump and MAGA have deemed this fertile ground for sowing discord, lies, and unrest. Imagine that. Yeah, the banter, the rhetoric is pretty wild. We'll get to it a little later, but first we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Laura, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, moderate Republicans for famously hating Christianity and wanting porn in schools.
Are a group of moderate Republicans have partnered with Democrats. These are folks that want pornography in your kid's school. These are folks that don't want the Bible in school. They have been attacking Christianity. These are folks that do whatever the teachers' unions tell them to. And they want to bring back an era of the teachers' union controlling our schools.
All right,
we're not going to allow that. We're going to continue to put...
So that's Oklahoma Secretary of Education, School Superintendent Ryan Walters, that's the title there, who's on one recently, and he got caught in this pretty fucking naked grift involving Bibles, which grift involving Bibles, that sounds like a sentence that shouldn't go together. Unfortunately, this is America and deep in the era of prosperity gospels. So... we talked before about him trying to put Bibles in schools, all right? So he finally put out the request for proposal for bids for delivering the Bibles, all right? He wants 55,000 Bibles. According to the bid documents, vendors must meet certain specifications. Bibles must be the King James Version. It must contain the Old and New Testaments, must include copies of the Pledge of Allegiance, Declaration of Independence, and the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and must be bound in leather or leather-like material. Do you want to guess how many Bibles fit that criteria?
I mean, I ain't never seen a Bible, I don't think, that had the all those American documents in it. And I grew up in a pretty American part of America, and I don't remember seeing the Pledge of Allegiance, Declaration of Independence, U.S. Constitution, and Bill of Rights all included in a Bible. Plus, we didn't have leather money. That's another thing. You wasted money on leather. It don't need to be leather, goddamn. So, I mean, I would think not a lot, not very many.
Not many at all. The main one that does is the Lee Greenwood God Bless the USA Bible, endorsed by former President Donald Trump and commonly referred to as the Trump Bible.
The Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA Bible, endorsed by Donald Trump and otherwise known as the Trump Bible. It wonders never cease, dude. It blows my mind that any adult human being could fail to see that as the naked grift that it is. Do you know what I mean? It's almost too on the nose. It sounds like a made up thing in a story about people using the Bible to fucking, rip people off for money and overly like corporate, like the Coca-Cola presents the word of the Lord. Like it sounds like a joke or something.
Yeah, which is pretty much straight out of The Boys, right? So
exactly.
This report for the Oklahoma and reached out to a Christian bookstore named Mardell Christian Education, and they carry 2,900 Bibles, and none of theirs fit those particular parameters. Because why would you put the Bill of Rights, omitting every amendment after 10, by the way, including the anti-slavery amendments, of course, and none of them fit the parameters out of 2,900. So, but there's one other Bible that also meets these specifications. It's the We the People Bible that sells for $90 a piece. That one's endorsed by Donald Trump Jr. The Lee Greenwood Trump Bible sells for $60 each. By the way, you can get a King James Bible, a paperback online for $2.99. All right.
Bro, I've
so
had Christians give them to me for free.
They leave them for
as my
free in
tip
hotel
at O'Charlie's
yeah.
and shit.
Yes, yes.
This country is lousy with Bibles. It's not a scarce resource. They're
No.
all over the goddamn place.
Definitely not. And so, so Walters has said that he frequently wants Bibles in every classroom, but publicly clarified he wants them in classes where the Bible might apply to academic standards such as history or literature, which, okay. But the problem here is, he's requesting 55,000. He wants 55,000 Bibles delivered. Okay, there are only 43,000 classrooms in the state, and so obviously a lot less than 43,000 of those teach history or literature. So basically, every history or literature class will have 9 Bibles.
Right.
I've been wanting so. This has been bugging me for a while. I don't think I brought it up on the show, but I think a lot of people misunderstand the separation of church and state and what it's for. Because I think everyone, including us, non-God people or whatever, primarily assume it's to protect the state from religion, right? It's to protect unbelievers from having religion forced on them. And obviously a lot of Christians have grown to see that too, that the First Amendment, which they think separates church and state is fake, just exists to get in their way from taking power, all right? But I wish everyone would understand that's not the main purpose of it. A lot of the founding fathers, not all of them, like Thomas Jefferson famously was basically agnostic, but they were fierce believers and thought that the separation of church and state would be a way to keep the state from corrupting religion. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, to keep religion from having fucking corporate sponsors.
Right.
To keep things like Lee Greenwood Presents, the God Bless the USA, Holy Bible, to keep stuff like that from being able to happen.
Right. This is from the church being implicated in vulgar grifts that are compromises are necessary in politics. What you don't want to do is have to compromise religious faith. So you don't want to keep the two things separate so you don't, end up going to fucking hell. All right, so you don't sell your soul for a few votes or a few dollars or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's worth remembering that the founders, and the early American settlers had fled, monarchies that had merged with the church, where you had corrupt priests living off the taxpayer teat, and monarchs rewriting religions so they could whatever weird sex stuff they wanted to get up to, like cutting their wives' head off, would be legal.
Sure.
Using religion to steal taxpayer money to grift for a political patron is a literal example of taking the Lord's name in vain. Not saying God damn you, but using the cover of God to steal money. That's taking the Lord's name in vain. All right.
Right.
And I start to say to sound churchy here, but I grew up in the church, and this kind of shit. This kind of shit is the reason a lot of people like me are pushed away from religion. It's because of fucking scumbags like this asshole. All right. And using the King James Bible here is a bit on the nose. The reason King James had his own Bible written was for a lot of reasons, but among them was he cited 2 passages in the Geneva translation where he found the marginal notes offensive to the principles of divinely ordained royal supremacy. All right, that include Exodus 1:9, where the Geneva Bible notes had commended the example of civil disobedience of the Pharaoh. So because Moses stole slaves from the Pharaoh, and that was presented as good, that didn't hit for King James because he wanted to keep his loyal subjects.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And this is the Bible they're pushing on school kids in Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, I've for a long time, it's like I reached a certain age in my life, and I was like, why is King James the one that, why, because when I was a kid, it was the King James Bible, and now they got the New International Version and all this stuff. But it's always been kind of inherently weird to me and I know it's all translated, it's all ancient. But the word of the Lord has all these, there's you can pick and choose which version of it hits for you the hardest. Mm-hmm. And that was part of that was one of the first cracks in the foundation of my, which there really was no foundation of my faith, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, go ahead.
I was trying to figure out before we came on why the King James Version is so popular among evangelicals, because the Bible I was gifted when I got baptized or whatever, which was the leather fancy one as a keepsake, was a King James Version. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out why, and the best answers I could come up with, because no one announces their reasons why they love particular, but it's 2 reasons. One, the language sounds fancy and so therefore authoritative. So look, and Moses gazeth upon the burning bush and said, I love thee, Lord my God. sounds
Yeah.
authoritative and like a higher form of language. So it sounds like
Yeah, if somebody just says some shit to you, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
if they spake unto thee,
Right.
that feels different.
Right. So like if a modern English translation, like, yo, check out that burning bush, dude. It'd be like, that doesn't sound like a legit religion.
That shit is
And-
not chill, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
They should do that. They need a Zoomer Bible. Anyway, go ahead.
And the other version is because the language sound is hard to decipher for a lot of people. It makes it easier to obfuscate the true meaning of like religious passages.
Totally
right?
buy that. 100%
So-
buy that.
So Walters appears to like once again gotten way out over his skis here to a degree that he's doing stuff that's not just illegal and like immoral, arguably, but also and unconstitutional, but also just fucking annoying. So like a lot of more and more Republicans in the state are turning on him. Like he pissed off the legislature doing some dumb shit a while back. I forget what we talked about, but like so Oklahoma's attorney general is a guy named Gentner Drummond. Which seems to me like a form of indirect nominative determinism because he's a Republican, obviously. And if you want your kid to grow up to be a conservative lawyer, name him Gentner.
Yeah.
He had to send a letter basically threatening him with like I'm not sure what legal action they take, impeachment or just like or take him to court or whatever, because he's not spending taxpayer. This isn't even about the Bible thing. It's about the fact that he's doing the Bible thing while ignoring other money he's obligated to spend, specifically on inhalers. All right. A couple years ago, a kid in an Oklahoma school died because he didn't have access to an inhaler. So the legislature did what a government should do. And oh shit, we got kids out of inhalers who are dying at school. I mean, even if we don't care about our kids, like that feels like a lawsuit. So maybe we should just get inhalers because they're not super expensive. So they allocated $250,000 to buy inhalers for the kids of Oklahoma. And he just hasn't even put out a request for proposal, even made any movement in the last year to get inhalers because he doesn't fucking give a shit about the kids in the schools he oversees. And Drummond added that Walters has basically given up, writing, quote, "It appears that you have elected to require school districts to directly purchase inhalers and be refunded rather than procuring inhalers directly," which means like he's making it more expensive for them to buy them in small amounts instead of buying in bulk. So he's just fucking over the taxpayers here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say this because I don't want to take any of these people's side at all, and I'm not taking their side. But this is literally what I used to do was federal procurement. This is state level procurement, but this is what my job used to be. And I just know from some of the people that I worked with and stuff that like it's the whole that maxim or whatever is talking about. Don't blame malice when it can be explained by incompetence or whatever. When it comes like
this is malice. Yeah,
right. Well, but the federal a governmental employee, a procurement employee, taking 7 months to get inhalers after getting the money for it or whatever is, I could very easily see that happening. Is all I'm saying. Just because that's how that type of thing goes. It moves at a glacial pace. Like it used to blow my mind all the time.
You can even do it corruptly. You got to have a buddy who wants to make a little extra money on the side who can start open up an LLC that acquires some inhalers to sell to the state, and he gets a cut of it, and you get a kickback, and the kids get inhalers. That's preferable to me than this fucking system where you just don't get them inhalers.
I mean, I agree with that for sure. And yet the fact that apparently that the Bible's thing got speed ran, it got rushed to the front of the line is definitely indicative of some bullshit going on. But
especially because we know that even if he wastes the money and gives Trump it add up to $3.3 million that Trump will get a cut of to the Lee Greenwood Bible thing. The Bibles will never make it to the classroom because this has been well litigated. It absolutely has. And if you're a kid in Oklahoma and you're having an asthma attack, I guess just reach for one of the 8 Bibles that's in your history class. Hope you're in history when you have an asthma attack, and flip to Isaiah 2:22. It says, "Stop regarding man in whose nostrils is breath. For of what account is he?" That's obviously the King James version. Which the meaning of which is to stop trusting in mere human beings to save you, because your fucking school superintendent sucks shit, and I hope he goes to jail. So yeah.
Yep. He don't hit. All right. But speaking of shit, let's talk about some bullshit. There's been a lot of it lately, right? With these hurricanes. It's like I mentioned up top, you'd like to think that, I mean, I'm not at all surprised. I'm sure none of you all are either watching this, but like in the wake of a natural disaster where people are, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I look, it's nostalgia. I'm looking through it through rose-colored glasses at the past and how the way things used to work. Maybe this wasn't true then either. I don't know, but it's the type of scenario where in my head, in a pre-Trump world, when I was younger in the political landscape in this country, is like that would be a time where people would just sort of would actually come together and just not worry about bullshit. And there'd always be grifters. There'd be people trying to capitalize or profiteer. Like you always have assholes like that. But like politically, people on both sides would acknowledge like, well, none of that matters right now. People are dying. This is fucked up. Let's just try to get as many people as much help as we can. And this past week has really illuminated just how far of a fall from grace we've had with that type of thing, because it's the exact opposite in the wake of Helene, and now there's Milton on the horizon, and it's not going to be any better.
Well, there appears to be a bright dividing line between people that like have been mugged, like the old expression that like a liberal is just a conservative who hasn't been mugged yet or whatever. Like a lot of Republicans have been mugged by reality in the past few weeks, and they've responded by becoming sane or acting sanely in the temporary. And those are people that have to be responsible. I'm talking mostly about like higher level elected officials who have to oversee shit. And the dividing lines between them and the people who've done what they always do, which is basically just post.
Right.
Just post online. Your average backbencher fucking congressman, like your Adria Paulina Luna or whatever her name is, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and your Fox News types. And I want to start with this video here because it kind of shows the dichotomy here. Here's Dana Bash interviewing Laura Trump, who's running the RNC still, I guess, and they're talking about Senator Tom Tillis, who's a Republican senator from North Carolina, what he's seeing on the ground versus what Laura is trying to say here, which is based upon shit she's seen on the internet.
To listen to what the Republican senator from North Carolina, Tom Tillis, said about the rescue and recovery efforts.
I'm actually impressed with how much attention was paid to a region that wasn't likely to have experienced the impact that they did. For anybody who thinks that any level of government, anybody here, could have been prepared precisely for what we're dealing with here, clearly are clueless. But right now, I'm out here to say that we're doing a good job.
So he and others are saying, please, to the former president and to others, stop spreading misinformation because it's hurting people in North Carolina.
I'm so glad to hear that he feels that way, but it's coming directly from people there. You can go online and you can look at videos of people recording themselves and posting online saying,
you can go online and see people recording themselves. You can credit, Laura.
And no one has even...
Do you want to guess
it's
the
just
problem
funny.
with
It's
that?
like you hear a report from a guy who's there, who like is literally being filmed while there, and saying like, no, that's not true. We're working very hard. We're doing as good of a job as we can, and the federal government's been very helpful here, or whatever. And then she's like, well, listen, I don't give a shit what that dumbass says. I know from talking to people who are on the ground. It's like, this dude is also on the ground. Like it's that's an actual firsthand account. But I know that like. People being like, oh, I heard from a guy who lives in this holler in North Carolina, and people in hollers, they need to be protected too. But lives in a holler in North Carolina says he hasn't seen Joe Biden anywhere at all. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's like, well, yeah, like
that's not even what she's talking about. That's not even what she's talking about. She's talking about somebody who's in a place of comfort and safety, hopping online and being like, I heard from a buddy on the ground that FEMA's in a shootout with Marine Corps snipers.
Right.
That's what she's talking about.
Yes.
So
that is still worse. But either way, I'm just saying, I mean, even if it was, even if someone has like a firsthand account from a person, it still depends on the context and also in what they're saying. It's like, you know what I mean? Like you could have.
And I saw one of these. Yeah, sorry. I saw a woman on the ground in Western North Carolina trying to make a post, like pushing back against this information. And she's basically trying to explain how everything works because basically, the local government handles this, and the state government handles this, and the federal government handles this, and the $750 you're giving you is not the totality of the bailout you're going to give. That's just cash for immediate needs like groceries and water, and in case you need a hotel room. But all that's fucking complicated. FEMA is close the airspace so white people can be executed is a very simple thing to explain to people. So basically what I've realized is that our government is set up to generate conspiracy theories because it's so clunky and so much duplicative shit, right? So well, hold on. Well, I'm sorry, but
what do you mean by that, though? Just because I mean, look, dude, I know that our government is highly bureaucratic and duplicative, and it lends itself to a bunch of inefficient bullshit. I know firsthand that is true, but I'm saying in this scenario, like, when people say that they're whatever, that FEMA's in a ground war with armed patriots in Western North Carolina, like, that's not. I mean, what's the government supposed to do about that? Like that, you know what? Like, where is that? Like, that's just crazy people saying shit, right? Like,
I'm saying, there's been it's become a common expression lately, but like when you don't understand how anything works, everything becomes a conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
So like you and I grew up rural, all right? So one thing every person who's from the middle of nowhere knows, understands instinctually, is that you are far away from fucking help.
Right.
Like one time we had an ice storm. We went 16 days without power. We just had to survive. And that's fine. That's expected, because the way large numbers work is you're going to turn the city's power back on first, and you're going to be last because your power line only has your house on it. So they're not just by triaging like who helping the larger numbers of people. They're going to get to you last. All right. So when a rural area like Appalachia is flooded, a town with one road in and one road out, and there's no place to land a fucking helicopter, shit sucks. And a bunch of people don't understand how remote even parts of the United States are.
Oh, yeah.
So what they do is, because they assume that help hasn't gotten there yet, that obviously that's purposeful, and Joe Biden wants to kill all the white people.
Right. Okay. No, yeah, I hear you. No, you're right. And like you said, I know, like, from growing up where I did, there's an it's like there wouldn't have been an expectation that it would come, you're allowed to mind your own and you're away from things, which is the upside. People like that. But that also means, the government, whoever's going to get to you later, you're off by yourself. You're out in the, you're away from things. You still deserve help. But the people, I feel like in my hometown at the time, I remember a real bad ice storm in like the 90s when I lived there, and shit was real bad for a little bit. And I don't feel like there was people claiming Bill Clinton was trying to kill them all, right? Like, they basically said that later after NAFTA and the factory left. But at the time with the ice storm, that wasn't where people's heads went. Whereas today, that's immediately what people think.
The ice storm also didn't wipe out entire towns, right? So also TikTok didn't exist. So, but like it's just like everything's like very confusing to people right now who barely pay attention, and it's pretty startling how easy it is to insert disinformation and misinformation into all this shit if you're a bad actor who, like, say, wants to hop on Twitter and make $7 by getting, because Elon pays for engagement by coming with a brazen lie and getting a bunch of retweets about it, right? But since Laura Trump told us to go on the internet, let's see what's been going on the internet. Here's a Facebook post that went mega viral over one of many AI-generated images of Trump. And like, Facebook doesn't want to cut out the person's username, but Facebook doesn't want us to see this. They keep deleting it, but I'm going to keep sharing, okay? Facebook is deleting it because this is obviously fake bullshit for a lot of reasons. One, it's AI because of the like uncanny valley nature of the image, right? Yeah. It's also Donald Trump helping people. He's
standing in thigh deep water in his suit and everything, but also it's like what's the it looks like a joke or something, like the paper towels. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're going to need a lot more paper towels, brother. Like, what is he even supposed to be doing?
Those fucking paper towels?
Yeah, right, exactly. What? Right. Yeah. Like, oh, thank God you showed up with this one roll of paper towels while he's standing in a foot and a half deep water or whatever. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right. Flip over to the next image, Laura, because I want to show cropped and zoomed in. Like, okay, this is another reason it's fake. There's a woman standing in the crowd he's handing out paper towels to who's wearing a non la, which is the conical Vietnamese hat that's made from bamboo. All right. I think what happened here is the person generated, like, show Donald Trump helping flood victims in the South. All right. So it gets the paper towel thing for when he was in Puerto Rico, tossing paper towels to the crowd. And because it says South, it's like, well, South Vietnam's in the South, and just generates an image of a Vietnamese woman. That's my best guess as to what happened there. And I told you about the mega viral thing that's happening last night, where people were live tweeting fan fiction about Marine Corps snipers being in a shootout with FEMA, which you already talked about a little bit. Which is just like they quoted a Marine sniper saying, "We're in the fight of our lives against FEMA." Right. Truck drivers and people that process insurance paperwork. Right. That's what you're fucking like. Who do you think's in FEMA, man? Why would?
Well, I think a lot of people think that any governmental agency has like, spooks in it or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? I think people think that it's like a governmental agency. Yeah, they got agent, it's an agency. They got agents. FEMA's got agents who are armed and, have training and all that. Who knows what they can do? They work for the deep state, Mark. Fucking,
That's what like, so the QAnon people, which of course become half the Republican Party, think that like there's a war going on at all times between like the forces of light and God, which would be the Marines and the Navy SEALs, and then the evil, which would be the deep state, the CIA, and I guess FEMA. So they're always, remember there was a shootout they supposedly had after the election where the Navy SEALs were in a shootout with the CIA. The director of the CIA over a thumb drive, they would prove the election was stolen. They all thought that was happening. So like that's whatever. I just like what I've basically arrived at is I think the Super Hadron Collider did explode in 2015 and separate us into a bunch of like multiverses.
Yeah. And we're in the dumbest one.
Right. Every time there's a multiverse movie, there's like always a really dumb universe, like an Into the Spider-Verse. It's where everyone's pigs.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Or like everything everyone wants is there's a universe where everyone has dildos for fingers. We're in the dildos for fingers universe.
Yeah, right.
Of American politics.
Yeah, that checks out. Also, just real quick about FEMA though, it just pisses me off though too because it's like I feel like it's sort of like medical professionals working during COVID, right? When people are like they're just like trying to do their jobs and also help people like selflessly. A lot of these people, and they just get like spit in their face for it. Do you know what I'm saying? They get like demonized and fucking say they're pawns of the deep state or whatever, and they're trying to kill people. And it's like to do that and to still keep helping people, despite it's just got to be frustrating as hell. And that's what's happening with a lot of these.
What they're basically trying to do is to get a FEMA aid station shot up while they're handing out bottled water or whatever.
Exactly.
Our Marjorie Taylor Greene's been on one, repeatedly going back to her old conspiracy theory that the government controls the weather. Here's the first one where she's like, you think they don't control the weather? Yes, they can control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it can't be done. So I read an explainer from a scientist who's like, even if the government could start a hurricane with a laser, like what you do is you'd like seed clouds, then use a super hot laser, heat the ocean water to the point where maybe you can jumpstart a hurricane. But the person was like, even if that was just theoretically possible, the amount of energy it would take to do it would require like the energy of the sun. It's not theoretically possible. All right.
Well, also the deep state's run by liberals, right? Or the people in charge, they're leftist, aren't they?
I guess.
And California is like a leftist haven and whatnot. I'm just saying, I feel like if they could do shit like this, whenever California is on fire, which is very often, they just don't. They're like, I don't see, they don't see any kind of use for their weather controlling technology in that case. You know what I mean? They don't want to like protect because they're acting like they're using it to fuck over red America, Trump country. That's what they use this power for, but they don't use it to like save California when everything's on fire. Do you know what I mean? There's no other uses they can find for it. Other than just doing this,
Oh, that's the thing that drives me crazy is like let's spitball here, all right? Like if you had a machine that could control the weather, all right? Think of all the things you could do with it, all right? You could, you could control every futures betting market in the planet, right? Therefore, control the world economy and collapse the economies of all your enemies. Instead, what they think they do with it is like try to give Donald Trump a slightly less of a chance on the margins in the Electoral College.
Right.
It's
by ginning up a hurricane and killing a bunch of people. And like also that, and you have to rely on the fact that you'll never get found out for that either. You know what I mean? It's just not, the risk reward is just not there, Also these hurricanes are supposed to be laser focused. Do you know what I mean? It's a hurricane. It's like
you couldn't control it. You can't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, even if they think that you can create one, you can cause a hurricane. Are they saying they can dial it in to where it's like, no, hit this county in Western North Carolina, but not this county or whatever? Like, because it's fucking ridiculous. Also, Asheville is a liberal haven, and it got fucked over bad. It wasn't just like Trump country stuff in North Carolina. So it just, none of it makes any goddamn sense at all, which should go without saying, but I mean, it doesn't. Like, apparently it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, you said you'd have to expect to get caught, but Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks she caught them. She posted this meme on Twitter. where it says like, you know, the meme face, they can control the weather, with a list of patents that are you know, patents. People patent all kinds of shit all the time. A bunch of cranks like patent stuff having to do with the weather. Which is funny to me that you would have to patent like a secret super weapon. Like, do you think like the stealth bombers patented? I bet it's not. I bet there aren't blueprints for it in some fucking office somewhere that
That's a
they're
good
accessible to the
point.
public.
Like you could figure out everything DARPA's got going on by just checking the patent off it. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, you think the plans for a Moonraker base are in there, or like what? So, like, one of the patents you listed there is for a balloon that just drops water drops. Another one is like a plan, like a guy's idea to use heat to make toxic gases float upwards. They don't kill people. So like if you were being attacked with chemical weapons, you'd have like a trench warfare kind of line where you would have hot air blowing up to like float the chlorine gas up over the troops' heads, which might be a good idea. You know, good for him. A little bit too late for World War I, but I'm glad these guys still out there thinking about shit. While we're talking about conspiracy stuff, like you were talking about how like you'd think at times like this people would pull together. People do pulled together on the ground. Like FEMA's on the ground working with like the Cajun Navy, which you're familiar with the Cajun Navy, right?
No, not really. Tell me about them.
All right. Well, they're kind of formed around 2005. It's basically just a bunch of good old boys with bass boats who go help people when there's floods. All right.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and after Katrina, right?
Like they've been active at basically every major hurricane. They all load up their trucks with supplies and gas, take their boats to go try to rescue people from floodwaters. And they're not a political organization. I would guess how they're going to vote, being a bunch of guys with big trucks and bass boats, but that's not the point of the organization. They go help people. So like they do good work, whatever, and they post a video just to talk about how stuff does seem weird. It's easy to get conspiratorial about this stuff. One of their aid stations, where they were like loading up stuff to take to people in the floodwaters, got rotor. Do you know what rotor washing is, Trey?
I mean, I just assume a helicopter, like blowing the shit out of somebody with the air from their blades.
Yeah, so
tell I'm helicopter dumb, but yeah.
Right. People like
using all that spinning air to fuck shit up from a helicopter. Yeah, right. Okay.
Militaries and police agencies will typically do it to harass protesters. Right. It's it's kind of it's one of those lower level. It's considered one of those things that's considered a war crime if you do it to people you're occupying. But American police do all the time, like tear gas. So it's fine to do to your own people, I guess. But a Black Hawk helicopter, like with no markings on it, like rotor washed their camp. And they're like, and the guy in charge of the Cajun Navy station was like, "I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, but what the fuck?" And I'm like, I get it, but like Occam's razor here. If the New World Order or the Deep State or whatever want to stop them from distributing supplies, I bet you there's got to be more effective means than one helicopter rotor washing. Like, it was a pretty mild rotor washing. It just like blew some papers around. Like, it's the simplest solution to me is some fucking guy in the National Guard thought he saw the guy who was fucking his wife down there or something. That's much more plausible to me than the Deep State's trying to harass the Cajun Navy with one helicopter. Whatever. But my point is that stuff like that goes viral on the internet and drives people insane because it seems weird, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, it could also even be the thing we were talking about earlier with incompetence versus malice or whatever. It's like just somebody it's just a prank, bro. It just seems funny. You think they're going to be in on it. There's a million different ways you could explain it. And it's like, given that it didn't end with people dying, like, I think it's fine to explore the ideas that pilot is just kind of a troll or whatever.
I'd find that pilot and give him like 40 demerits and suspend him for 2 weeks or whatever. That seems like an appropriate punishment, as opposed to like whatever the people that picked up on this and made it go mega viral do not have anyone's best interest at heart, not even the Cajun Navies or the people trying to be helped. They just want people to think that Joe Biden sent a helicopter to harass the Cajun Navy. All right. And like this stuff's been seized on by a bunch of bad actors. Not least among them is fucking Elon Musk, who just can't find any single situation that he can't make worse. So there's been this like weird disinformation trick that the right wingers are using now, basically where they screen grab a text message. They say it's from a source who's trustworthy, and then go, "Is this really happening? What the fuck?" And it's like. There's no sourcing or whatever for it, right? So let me read one here from Charlie Kirk, the director of Turning Point USA. He screen grabbed the text message that said, "Charlie, my sources in Western North Carolina tell me that personnel from FEMA are being housed at one of the nicest hotels and they work only till 5 p.m. Read the alleged text, which he tweeted Friday to 3.5 million followers on X. and they will not work weekends. My folks are being told if they don't contact them by 5 p.m. today, they will have to wait until Monday. Is this true, FEMA? Kirk added. Americans are dying, but FEMA workers are treating their job like it's a 9-to-5 government clock punching gig. So I don't know how hard federal employees are working here, but like his sourcing here is a guy who texted Charlie Kirk who heard from some people in North Carolina. All right?
Right.
That went out to 3.5 million people.
Well, you also have to just think, like, because he's Charlie Kirk, like the idea that this dude texting him, he's a true believer, probably. He's on board, or at least is a powerful grifter or whatever, into the grift too, one of the two. And so, like, his source could just be like some dude he has DM'd on the internet who has told him that he's from North Carolina.
Right.
And that where he's at North Carolina, he's seeing this stuff. So it's wing nuts all the way down, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So, like, when this dude's like, no, I'm hearing directly from the ground that this is what's happening. It's like, yeah, but it's just layers of dipshits talking to each other who all think this stuff is going on. So it doesn't really mean anything. But, you know, that counts as a source nowadays, I guess.
Elon Musk, one of his own tweets, didn't even bother with the fake made-up source. Like with a screen grab. He was his own one-man game of telephone. Where he seems like to me he just made this up, but he posted, just received this note from a SpaceX engineer helping on the ground in North Carolina. The alleged note, which doesn't include even a screenshot of a text or email, says that FEMA is blocking shipments into Asheville, seizing goods and claiming them as its own. So,
okay,
I'm not sure
why.
Okay, okay, so
for what? Like
to stop people, to help to make sure people die. That's what I think FEMA's doing. All right.
Yeah, but people in Asheville are probably. Oh, wait. Okay. No, they want people to die that are going to vote for Trump, right? Isn't that the conspiracy theory? That's who they want to die. But people in Asheville are probably not going to vote for Trump. They should be propping Asheville up and letting other people die, I would think, according to this conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
like,
you're thinking too hard.
I know. I mean, I always do that. But
yeah,
like.
It's just that and also there are valid reasons why like FEMA might want to control what stuff is being delivered to people. Like I'm not saying bottled water or whatever, but like for example, like Elon went on a thread about how like FEMA was blocking the airspace over the disaster area so people couldn't help. And Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, had to like respond to him on Twitter. It was like basically just like, you can just call me, bro. Like, you can just call me. Like, you're a government contractor. You have the phone number of of a bunch of like cabinet secretaries, and you're fucking posting on Twitter when you could just check. Like, so he basically, Mayor Pete got him on the phone and basically explained to him that like they had a bunch of near collisions because there were so many helicopters over the disaster area.
Of course.
That they were trying. Yes, they were trying to keep track of who was entering, who was leaving, so there wouldn't be crashes that would necessitate more people being helped. And Elon was satisfied with that explanation. But like, why would you presume that was explanation to begin with?
I was about to say that makes all the sense in the. Of course, someone should be controlling the airspace over a disaster. Well, you got all these different people coming in helicopters and trying to pull people out. Like, someone needs to regulate that. It's not weird at all that they would restrict that airspace to like protect people who are in charge. And also, like FEMA seizing people's property and stuff like that. Like, even people it's like, no, I brought this generator because I want it to be, I want it to be useful in this effort. If they're like, well, where we are currently at, we have a surplus of generators, but over there, somewhere else, they're missing a generator. So we're going to send this generator there. Do you know what I mean? Like that type of, like, there's a benign explanation for why they would be given the authority to do stuff like that, is what I'm saying, because they know where resources are needed and how to allocate them. But it's turned into this whole like deep state, big government. You're confiscating your property and fucking all this stuff. Like, it's crazy. It's not even, it's like you said, it should be the immediate explanation that people assume. To me, in my head, it's like, it's not like most of this shit even seems that weird. Like, it all seems to check out just fine to me. There have been things before where I'm like, yeah, I can see how that seems a little weird, but look, here's the but with this stuff, it's like, it don't even seem weird. It just all seems like, of course, this is the way all this stuff works. Like, what? I don't understand it, man.
Like, it's like you look at a situation where shit's absolutely fucked, and you're like, well, this must be a conspiracy. It's like 1,000-year flood hit Appalachia, and you're like, do you think it's a conspiracy that it's fucked?
Right.
Oh my God, bro! Like I could be like, it's gonna be fucked for a long time. This isn't like nobody has to be a bad actor here for shit to be fucked. It's like so weird to me. That's where people's brains go. But these guys like we were joking a couple weeks ago after the second assassination attempt that like these guys don't understand the forces they're playing with. And I just briefly want to say that like someone's gonna shoot at Elon soon. He popped up at Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the first assassination attempt happened back a couple months ago, and jumped around on stage or whatever. He fucked up and he wore a belt buckle that had the Lone Star of Texas superimposed over the Tesla logo, and which QAnon thought was satanic. QAnon thinks it depicts Baphomet's head on a pentagram. So, like, these people gin up all this anger and conspiracy theories. They put themselves in the center of fighting it. So when the bad forces aren't defeated, what's immediately going to happen is you're going to be lumped in with the bad guys, and someone's going to try to fucking kill you. So I'm just warning Elon right now to ramp up your security.
Dogs and fleas, man. It's like, these are the people you court on. You purposefully gin up the most unstable people in this country, and then expect none of that to ever blow back on you in any capacity. Like, it's naive. Again, Trump's been shot at twice, both times by reported
Trump voters,
previous fans of his. Yeah, Trump supporters. I mean, so.
Yeah. So, the thing that is depressing about this to me is like America's always had cranks and weirdos. Of course, the internet elevates them, but the fever swamps used to kind of stay the fever swamps. But now there's like this game of footsie, if not outright blasting of it. So Trump's been like on one lately about the disaster response. Just to go through a couple fucking lies he's been told. So, because they have a unified theory of every problem in America, and it's migrants, right?
Yeah, anybody watched the last presidential debate could tell that for sure.
Right. Right. They're going to get housing costs down by deporting migrants, because if you're trying to buy a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom house in the suburbs of Northern Virginia, you're getting outbid by a migrant family.
Well, no, I know when I bought a house in Burbank, California this year, and I had to outbid like 4 or 5 different migrant families. They were really strong negotiators. They competed hard, but we came out on top. But yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so right now, which one of the lies Trump's telling is like he's saying that the Biden-Harris administration spent, quote, all her FEMA money on housing illegal migrants.
Right.
Which is a bit of projection because Trump stole money from FEMA when he was president to build migrant prisons.
And as I understand it, it's also that they said that it's one of those things you've said a million times before about how there's like a kernel of truth to things that they say, and it's like FEMA administers a program that's funded through Customs and Border Patrol, which does, as part of what they do, provide temporary housing to migrants who they get or whatever up here. But it's completely separate from disaster relief. It's a whole different pot of money. It has nothing to do with disaster relief at all. But in 2019, the Trump administration, they literally rerouted money from actual disaster relief directly to the border. But the difference is they didn't house migrants; they detained them, Mark. And if you're putting them in cages or whatever, then that hits for people just fine. It's like, hell, my neighbor can do without the help as long as we're locking brown kids up. It's okay with me. But but yeah.
So, did you hear what you just said? Remember a few minutes ago when I was like, I think our government's just too confusing so people can't understand it, so they insert conspiracy theories? That's exactly kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
right?
Budgets, appropriations, allocate, all this stuff. Yeah, they administer it, but the money comes through here. I mean, yeah, no, you're right. It's labyrinthine and stupid.
What Trump did was patently illegal, but no one's going to stop him from doing it. So my proposal is Biden should just start illegally moving money around when he needs to for fuck congressional appropriations, because like they're going to say you're doing it anyway. And like, why are you following the nerd rules when they're going to take money from, like, I don't know, feeding poor kids to like start the shoot migrants in the head factory or whatever? So another lie he's been telling is like he's been claiming the federal government's only giving $750 to people who lost their homes, like we talked about earlier. Again, our government being overly complicated and a bunch of bullshit. $750 is merely the immediate upfront aid survivors can get to cover basic pressing needs like food, water, baby formula, and emergency supplies. Survivors are also eligible to apply for additional forms of assistance, such as to pay for temporary housing and home repairs. It can be worth thousands of dollars. The current maximum amount for home repair assistance, for example, is $42,500, which I'm sure will be too hard to get. You have to fill out too many forms. A lot of people will think it's fucking bullshit.
Sure.
And a lot of people resent the government over and then end up voting for Republican, even though Republicans try to take away this aid entirely.
Exactly.
So I would once again urge Democrats to stop means testing things so fucking difficult.
Yep.
Make it things so difficult, because honestly, that $750, You should be handing out, like for Hurricane Milton, you should be handing it out yesterday and today in Tampa so people have gas money to get the fuck out of town.
Absolutely.
Don't wait till afterwards to do it.
You spitting, bro.
I don't-
Every word of that is true. It's like you said, people will hold that against the government, not just the government, Democrats, because they're the big government party, without ever stopping to consider the fact that Republicans don't want any of those programs in place at all. You know, that's what like they're, you know, that shit. That's what like to them. It's like that's what church groups are for. That's what bootstraps are. It's not the government's job to help people in times of need. That's you know, they can find that other ways. That's not what the government's for. They don't want any of this to exist at all, but they'll gladly capitalize on it politically in scenarios like this when they know people are hurting and are wanting somebody to be pissed off at. And that's, you know, bullshit.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to argue, somebody from the Republican side wanted to argue that it's not enough and not fast enough, I agree. But they're not arguing that $750 isn't enough, so you give them enough. They're arguing that $750 isn't enough, so you don't vote for Kamala Harris so they can take office and make that amount down to zero.
Exactly.
And that's the part that's there's so much bullshit wrapped up in this to me. And I would encourage, like, the means testing stuff always drives me insane because the reason they won't just be on the ground in Tampa right now handing out like bags of cash to whoever needs it to get the fuck out of town is because one newspaper story about somebody who didn't need it getting it would cause anger at the whole program. I'm here to tell you, I do not fucking care if somebody who already has money to get out of town gets $1,000. Don't fucking give a shit. All right.
Fucking A.
So,
no, you hitting everywhere.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. That's exactly how it works. It's exactly what goes on with people, and it is fucking bullshit.
But so because talking about Hurricane Milton, we'll skip ahead a little bit lower down to the Milton section instead of skip over the Trump and Laura Ingraham video. Here's the mayor of Tampa, and I've never seen people be so honest about Hurricane Milton. Like I saw somebody on, like a meteorologist talking yesterday about how Milton as a Category 5 has hit the theoretical mathematical limits of how powerful a hurricane can possibly be.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hurricane literally cannot be more destructive.
Right.
And it's heading straight for fucking Tampa. By this time tomorrow, God forbid, there may not be. I got married just south of Tampa. My wife and I were just having a little personal mourning last week. We might not ever be able to visit the spot where we got married on the beach, which is not the most important thing by a mile. Which is a little bit of thing that was one of the many things that's making us sad. So here's the mayor of Tampa, Jane Castor, giving an urgent message to everyone in her region.
This is literally catastrophic, and I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Wow.
I
mean,
that's what they need to tell people, dude. I know a lot of people still want to stick around. I know they tell them sometimes, like, okay, if you want to stick around, take a Sharpie and write your information on your chest, so when we find your corpse, we know who to contact. We know how to find your next of kin. Trying to get it through people's heads, they're like, no, this is serious. But yeah, no, it's brutal. And also, I don't believe in a simulation or nothing like that. But just the way things go, like I'm a little and I saw other people point this out, but I'm a little unnerved by the fact that this hurricane, its namesake, is the guy who wrote Paradise Lost. You know, like. I'm just not feeling good about it. I hope everybody.
I thought of the stapler guy from the fucking.
Sure.
Space.
Yeah. Well, that's also a good pull. But yeah, everybody get the hell out of Dodge in Florida, and I'm hope you guys are all okay.
Do you want to say that obviously, like Helene just came through the west coast of Florida, so obviously there are people who can't flee Milton because their cars are still fucked from Helene.
Yeah, right.
I saw a longtime meteorologist on a local NBC station in Florida talking about Milton and crying on air yesterday. This is going to be fucking bad. All right. Yeah. And we didn't get to those whole the consequences of these lives things, the lies part of the outline. But I do want to say briefly before we get out of here that like. Part of this disinformation campaign about how little aid there is available to people is going to convince Trump supporters and people that live in these areas that are just wherever they get the information that there isn't aid for them, so they won't apply. They're not going to get the benefits they're entitled to. Marco Rubio has been all over social media today and yesterday in local news trying to get people to flee Milton, where he spent the entirety of last week trying to get people to think that the Bureau of Labor Statistics was lying about employment numbers. So now he's trying to get people to believe the federal government when it's the weather service, but not believe them. This is why this stuff's dangerous. There are going to be people who don't flee because the right-wing media ecosphere has
Exactly.
convinced them that hurricanes are fucking fake.
Right.
And it's
And
a deep
you can't
state
listen to
ploy.
the government. You can't trust anything the Biden administration tells you. It's all a bunch of bullshit. And then and then these people end up dying because they won't listen to the government or just don't trust the
Christina-
government anymore. It's dangerous.
Yeah, Christina Pushaw, who's Ron DeSantis is like, she's supposed technically as press spokesman, but she mostly just tweets at people. She's been trying quote tweeting people like these rumors saying that FEMA has hired mercenaries to shoot people who leave their homes in Tampa if they try to return. So she's trying to say that if people, she's trying to say don't believe this because people aren't going to leave because they're afraid they won't be able to return.
Right.
And like I'm like, but you spent your entire career convincing people to believe lies when they helped you, but now that they're going to get your own people killed, you're upset about it, and all of you are full of shit, and I fucking hate all of you. You're all going to burn in hell. Fuck all, yeah.
Amen. Heard that. They capitalize on these disasters, and they know that these disasters are just going to keep happening. All these generational things. It's been barely a week, barely more than a week, and we've had 2 of them now, and we're just getting started. So the shit's not going to slow down, and they're going to keep doing the same bullshit every time, I'm sure, because it's politically expedient. But anyway, all the best to everybody in Florida. Like I said, get out of Dodge, take care of yourself. We appreciate y'all being here. Again, go to TreyCrowder.com, check out my upcoming tour dates. Come see me. Support the show on Patreon. weeklyskews.com/more. But really, just you keep watching on Skews Days, and we'll keep being here. We appreciate it. All the best to y'all. Take care of yourself.